As always, it is my pleasure that you join me for today's podcast of Second Chance Coaching. My name is Dr. Richard Lewis. If you'd be so kind as to leave me a rating and your feedback, I would very much appreciate it, and it will help others like you to optimally discover this podcast wherever you listen to this and your other favorite podcast. As you know, at Second Chance Coaching, we focus on seeing everyday life through the eyes of the returning citizen and highlighting the resiliency of the human spirit. I would love to work with you one-on-one, whether you're a returning citizen or coaching client seeking your second chance, or you're a representative of a business, college, or university seeking to integrate and support returning citizens in your respective organizational and learning environments. Please feel free to contact me via email at richard@secondchancecoaching.com or via Instagram at the Dr. Richard Lewis. Welcome again to another edition of Second Chance Coaching. As always, it is my pleasure to join you on another week of your reentry journey from whichever corner of the world you're listening from. We always remain humbled and excited that you've decided to spend a part of your week with us. On the day that this podcast drops on Wednesday, we're preparing for tomorrow, which is Thanksgiving Day in the United States, which also signifies the official start of the Christmas holiday season in the United States. Thanksgiving Day seemed to be loved and enjoyed by my mother much more so than Christmas. And as I continue to get older, I begin to appreciate more and more the beauty that my mother saw in the Thanksgiving holiday. And it was that cherished time in which you get to spend with family, breaking bread over a meal and catching up with each other, and really doing the things that one would think we should do on a regular basis throughout the year. And that's, taking the time to slow down, smell the roses, enjoy each other's company, and be thankful for the many blessings we do indeed have. I also know, and I'm very aware, that the holidays can be a stressful time for so many of us. There are people coming home beginning their reentry journey and are engaged in Thanksgiving with family and friends for the first time in a long time. And although that's a joyous occasion, that can be pretty stressful. There are families being reunited after a long time being apart from one another. And in all these situations and others, there are discussions happening around the dinner table or on the porch that could really do cause stress. And some of it could be, how do you still feel about the presidential election that happened earlier this month? Are the Yankees going to re-sign Soto? How do you think the Knicks will do this year? St. John's basketball is actually ranked in the top 25. Do we have a solid year ahead of us? And what's going on again with these Jets? Well, other than the initial topic about the election, I don't think the other topics would cause as much stress, probably much more so just wonderful banter and conversation. But seriously speaking, sometimes leading up to the holidays and in the midst of the holidays, in our conversations, we could easily get caught up in misunderstandings. And all of us go through it. I'm telling you, your friendly neighborhood second chance coach is no exception to that rule. As I'm recording this, there are still holiday plans in my family that are still very much up in the air, which is definitely not my preference. I like to have plans nailed down and have an organized plan laid out as to what I'm going to do or what's going to happen. Given the number of things on a normal basis that I have juggled in the air, the way I keep from being overwhelmed is making sure that everything is pretty organized from step one to step whatever the last step would be. And I always seem to get a little overwhelmed when plans are very fluid, which keeps me on edge, and that's definitely not my preferred mindset. So let me take you to this scene. So last week, in one of my class sessions at school, I had a class that was dedicated to just working as a workshop or a study hall class in which they were preparing for their final class project presentations, which would take place after Thanksgiving. And during the course of the class, while I was grading other papers, I kept receiving a number of text messages which indicated to me and shared with me the news of a significant upending to the Thanksgiving holiday plans. Now, this is with family, conversations with family, so I exercise a lot of patience. But what really pushed me over the edge was getting a text message saying there would be a significant absence from holiday celebrations this year. In my mind, This was the second straight year that certainly something that was expected did not take place. And while I believe there were legitimate reasons for it this year and next year, it didn't ease my feelings or change my frustration. And after the reading text messages and pondering on them a little bit, I expressed my hurt as to the latest events and even also talked about how patient I had been with the fluid nature of the plans that were proposed for most of the week. And most of the times I just went with the flow. But I had to express my disappointment this time around that things had happened like all of a sudden. Now, I didn't expect that my words were going to be greeted with a resounding hug or an affirmation that I was right. And a lot of cases, there were family who just didn't respond. They said they just let the words ride out. They wasn't going to say anything. But one family member responded initially with a quick explanation for the latest change in plans with an invitation to talk later. They said, it's not good to have that conversation over text messaging, which I responded with, okay, no problem, we could talk. But then a few seconds later, I guess they thought about it some more, and there were further responses, which was a tsunami of feelings that was coming out, which I could understand were legitimate to them. And then before I could get my thoughts together on what they were saying, there was a further doubling down on those tsunami of feelings, which I could see was a macro level venting that it had, and it had to do with things that really didn't have anything to do with me. However, my initial thought was, this is the reason why I do not like quote unquote conversational texting, as no matter how intentional no matter how intentional one it could be, or the best intentions one has, it just never seems to work out correct when conversational texting is part of the dynamic. At the time of this recording, the settling of the disconnect has still not taken place as of yet. And while I believe they are hurt, angry, and frustrated, I too am hurt, angry, and frustrated. I guess it's best to let some time and space allow for healing to come in. I'm sure I'm not the only one going through or will go through misunderstandings and disconnects, especially during the holiday season, because so many emotions are there that the misunderstandings and disconnects could easily take place. Now, in the midst of my time of having space, there are a number of thoughts going through my head. Certainly, I'm being prideful and thinking through how I'm not being heard or being seen or being respected. At the same time, I'm sure on the other end of the confrontation, my loved one is feeling the same way. Now, to help myself and to help anyone who needs to hear this today, I looked up on PsychCentral.com the 9 ways to solve a misunderstanding in a relationship. And those steps are as follows. Number 1, practice active listening. This could help because it is setting aside your own agenda, your own interpretation and judgment and emotions, and really setting aside your need to be right. And you try to focus and understand the perspective of feelings of others. Number 2, do a quote-unquote perception check. Try not to let past wounds or past failures or past slights that are not relevant to the situation at hand be part of the present-day conversation. Ask the person on the other end about what's happening or why they may have said a particular thing or things that are not relevant to the present-day situation. And if there's something to be solved, let's solve it. But let's not make past situations that were not addressed or had been addressed part of what's going on right now. Number 3, believe their explanation. Believe their words when they tell you about the true meaning behind whatever they said or did, and then really just drop it. You want to be sure that they are heard, and what they're saying may not be your point of view, but it is what they're feeling, and we can't tell someone else how to feel. Number 4, avoid assumptions. Do not leave anything to be said that is assumed or understood. Simply talk with your loved one in a kind and compassionate way, or ask them questions to help you avoid any further misunderstandings. Number 5, try not to attack. Avoid using words like always and never. Do not speak about your loved one's behavior in broad strokes or major generalizations or absolutes. Number 6, state your needs. State your needs in the healing dynamic or in the relationship by first describing how you feel before saying what you need. Make sure you do it in a kind, compassionate, yet confident way. Number 7, allow room for compromise. At the end of the day, none of us are perfect, and no one wants to change themselves completely to meet the needs and desires of their loved one. So it's important to be willing to negotiate and find the mutual place that is comfortable for all parties involved. Number 8, stay on topic. It's easy to get off topic when you're feeling frustrated or feeling defensive. It's not helpful for that to take place, as you would get deeper in the zone of non-productivity. And number 9, do take space. Take some space and time from the initial blow up to the time in which you try to productively bring things back together. The time and space that's necessary to connect to the time and space that's necessary before you try to connect back to your loved one is really for you to connect to yourself and your feelings and get your mind back on the right track. You know, this is a lot to take in, but think about it. You know, are the arguments really worth the emotional separation between you and your loved one? Especially during the holidays. You know, take a breath, take some space, and do the other 8 steps to bridge that gap. It's certainly my hope to do the same thing, because certainly if my family members are listening right now, they should know that my feelings for them or my love for them is certainly much more greater than any disconnects or arguments or misunderstandings that we do have. And while we have them, it's my hope that we bridge those gaps. And maybe there's a level of more understanding that I need to have of them. And certainly on my end, I feel that there's more understanding that they have to have of me. And think about that during the course of the holiday season. Also, too, the holiday season's not easy. You know, the holiday season for me comes with thoughts that are magnified even more so, that come throughout the entire year. You know, I think about my parents. I think about Nanamdi. You know, I think about people who have passed on. I think about what's going on currently, you know, with the projects that I have going on. And then you think about wanting to be around family during the holidays, and then you think about the family that you can't be around. So to me, it's like, you know, I spoke to my sister last week, and in the time of us catching up, you know, I was realizing how much I was going to miss her, because I won't see her during the holiday season, whether it be now or Christmas. So it probably won't be until the beginning of next year that we see each other. So the best advice I could really give to myself and to you during the holiday season is, you know, take a little extra time to have some compassion and to have some grace and some mercy, because we don't know what one person is going through. We don't know what each other is going through. Even though we may think we know or we assume, we don't know what we're going through. We don't know what each other's going through. So take the time to have that grace and understanding in that space to allow people to feel and to get through the holiday season. Because sometimes for some people, while some people celebrate and enjoy the holiday season, for some people, they're just trying to get through it and all points in between. Thank you, as always, for your continued love and support of Second Chance Coaching. I want to wish you and yours a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday. Once again, thank you for enjoying my favorite time of the week with me. Continue to spread Second Chance Coaching to your friends, family, and loved ones. And I look forward again to spending time with you again next week. Thank you again. Thank you again for joining us here at Second Chance Coaching. In addition to coaching services for individuals and businesses, I'm also available for speaking engagements and workshops on criminal justice reentry, human resources, as well as organizational culture and leadership. Feel free to email me at richard@secondchancecoaching.com, as well as connect with me on Instagram at @DrRichardLewis. Remember, every day you are given this opportunity for your second chance, and I know you'll make the best of it. I love you all, and I look forward to connecting with you next time here at Second Chance Coaching.